From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, glad you are with us tonight. I'm Ben Hall, this is OpenLine, and we are focused on an issue that affects so many people. How do you care for a loved one who is aging? How do you pay for the high cost of a nursing home? We are talking about elder law issues, and we're very happy to have with us somebody who can answer your questions. We certainly encourage you to call in with your questions. There's the number right there. Barbara Boone McGinnis is with us. Tim Takus is often with us. You work with Tim Takus.
I do.
So we are glad you are here tonight. And I always ask Tim, and I want to start with you now, what are you seeing in your office right now? What are some of the things coming through your door, just in the last couple of days?
Well, that's an interesting question. And I'll just say, I've been with Tim since 2011, so I'm not new to the office. Tim is actually at a national conference now. He's teaching somewhere in New Orleans, and I'll be joining him tomorrow and the rest of the team down there. What we see in our office, well, just today someone came in and Mom is quite elderly, and the family is worried about how are we going to take care of Mom? Can she come back home from the nursing home after rehab? Does she have to stay? And the big question always is, how do I pay for that care?
How do you pay for, because nursing home care is going to cost, what?
On average, about $6,500 to $7,000 a month, plus supplies and medications, and few people really have those kind of resources, especially as people get older. This lady is over the age of 90. It's not unusual for people to outlive some of their liquid money. So how do we leverage what government benefits she may be eligible for to help stretch her money or subsidize those funds? And do we need to use the equity in our home to be able to pay for that care?
Right.
That's something few people really want to get into doing.
Right.
And it's something that we rarely recommend, but if there's not liquid resources there to pay for care, sometimes that's what we have to do. For this family, we started looking at VA benefits. She was the surviving spouse of a World War II veteran, and we look at those periods of wartime that's defined by the Veterans Administration. Was active duty, sufficient length of time, and there's technical requirements and financial requirements when we start talking about pension. So we have to make sure they qualify for all of those things.
And I bet people don't know. I bet a lot of times people don't even know they're eligible for this kind of thing. And maybe for years she hadn't been collecting, and she could have been.
Oh, well, she had not been, and in fact it was a surprise to the family. It was a pleasant surprise to the family. And this isn't going to be buckets of money. It's going to be a little over $1,000 a month for a surviving spouse, but that helps. That helps augment the money that she has, her income, her savings, the veterans benefit. We always tell families that we have to start with where is the right place for that person to receive care. We don't want to overpay for care, but we don't want to take unnecessary risk by them being at a lesser level of care than what they need. So assessing where care needs to be provided, that's the driver. That's the driver of our care plans that we start putting together with families.
You want to see where they're going to be best served.
Absolutely.
And that, of course, there are different levels of financial demand that go along with that.
Right.
You don't want them in the most expensive they don't need to be. But I'm sure how are you going to pay for it is the big question. And families worry about, okay, am I going to lose my house? Or we're going to take the equity out of my house? And some might not even have a house with equity in it. But let's assume there's house with equity, and they're worried about losing their house. What can be done about that? What kind of things do you talk about?
Well, we have to balance things like what is the actual value of the home, fair market value, tax appraised value, retail value of the home, and start thinking about So what is the home worth? What is it costing to maintain? What's the tax basis of the home? A lot of these folks have had their homes for 40, 50 years, and the tax basis might be quite low. So to think about selling a home that's highly appreciated, we have to look at that aspect as well. So, but I think what you're asking is what a lot of families ask about is an estate recovery or an obligation to repay a debt to a government program. Are there caveats or exceptions to the circumstances that so they won't be forced to sell a house, like with a lien or a loan, right?
Right. Are they going to somehow come and take the house?
Yeah.
You know, that's the concern, right?
Right. There's often a misconception that the nursing home wants to take your home. I have never yet run into a nursing home that would want to own your home or any part of it. They're just in the business of providing care and want to be paid for the services that they provide. The state really doesn't want to own your home either, but they do have an obligation to attempt estate recovery if, through the Medicaid program, there's been a debt incurred that's been built up over time. So, I mean, that is a condition of the participation with the federal government, that the state has to attempt that. But there are several exceptions to those rules. One might be as simple as a surviving spouse. They cannot attempt recovery while there's a surviving spouse living in the home, or a caregiver child or a disabled child. So there could be a great number of exceptions to that.
Okay. Let's go to Tom. Is it on line 1? Hello, Tom. Todd? Okay, Todd on line 1. Go right ahead.
Hello?
Hi, Todd. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay, I can hear you too. I got this situation. I actually live out of state, and my mother's in Louisville, and we may have a case here of elder abuse. I'm not sure. I have left her alone to live her own life and everything like that, and she has a pretty good relationship with one of the neighbors. Well, he's a little younger than me, and he's come in there, and, you know, to be quite honest, I knew, you know, he was probably in it for his best interest and everything like that, but I have left her alone to live her own life, and I hadn't wanted to, you know, peddle in her business.
Right. So what is your question? What should you do about this situation?
Yes, man. I feel like he's taken advantage of her, and there's a lot of unexplainable checks that's been written from her accounts. And two, I feel like he might have taken advantage of her. You know what I mean? I'm honest. I can't confront her about this, but it's getting very shady.
All right, let's talk about that. Todd, thank you for your call, for sharing your situation. All right, what do you think there?
Without a doubt, elderly people can be vulnerable to and be taken advantage of. I mean, that is a worry that we all have. A lot of times it's not always strangers. Sometimes it's family members. But becoming more involved, I think, actually having honest conversations with Mother, expressing your concern about her situation and trying to find out how you can help. If she has full capacity, just because someone's older doesn't mean that they lack capacity to make their own decisions. And as adults, we have the right to make our own decisions, even sometimes if they're bad decisions. That's part of our rights as just being an adult, right?
Right.
Now, the real worry is if she doesn't have full capacity. You know, if she's under undue influence because of certain vulnerabilities, then I think it's getting more involved in your parent's life and trying to find out how.
How do you determine that, though? I mean, this is a tough situation.
It is.
And I bet you see it. I mean, so what you have is basically the mom, or often I guess a dad, they take on a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever, a significant other, and then the kids are all concerned. The kids are like, wait a minute, that person is interested in just one thing, and maybe that's true, and maybe it's not. How do we? How do you determine? Can you determine, or you just need to talk, or this can really tear families apart?
It can tear families apart in all kinds of different ways. We had a family that he was wanting to get remarried. This girlfriend that was in his life, he wanted to get remarried, but his children were so opposed to that. And this is a man that was like just barely elderly. You know, I'm talking about young elderly kind of person.
Right.
Still working, running his own business, very high functioning, no doubt about his capacity. But his children were having such a hard time with losing, or the thought of losing control to this new woman coming in. So they pretty much insisted that Dad come in and do an estate plan. They were interested in a prenuptial for his protection, and perhaps their own protection.
Right.
Which is legitimate, you know, and we did some trust planning work for him to protect a certain amount of inheritance in trust for children, and we were able to resolve those. But back to what you were asking, how do you determine if somebody really has capacity or not? Okay, once again, just because someone's elderly, you have to be careful about bias, age bias, right? Diagnosis bias. Even if someone has a diagnosis of early stages of a dementia, doesn't mean they've lost full capacity. It means you need to plan so that someone can't be taken advantage of. But you're looking at decision making, giving away assets in a manner or to people that they normally would not have. Are they making bad decisions? Are they forgetting to pay their bills? Are they being irresponsible? Things that are out of character for them, I think would be a good way to start.
Boy, that's a fascinating topic. All right, we have to take a break, but maybe we can talk some more about that. If you want to call in, there is the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this. Welcome back to Open Line, everyone. We are talking about elder law and elder care issues. Happy to have with us Barbara Boone McGinnis, attorney, talking about these issues. We encourage you to call in, share your story. A lot of people are dealing with caring for a loved one who is aging. Maybe they themselves have questions about their own planning for this inevitability. But let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Dorothy. Hello, Dorothy.
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
I have a question about my elderly father.
Yes, ma'am.
My sister Betty Lou is trying to take him and she's trying to work out the estate better in her situation. Like, she's got a minivan, and she's like wanting to take that, and she's wanting to take everything in his will. But I know better, and I don't think she needs to be doing that. I think it needs to be split up, like, in between us. I mean, because I don't trust her. I mean, I just want to know what I need to do to try to get everything in his estate evened out.
Dorothy, let me ask you one question. Is your father still alive?
No, he died last week.
Okay, so he's passed, and
but you have to know my sister. Know this story. It's not working out.
It's not working out. All right.
No.
So father just recently died, and now family members concerned about everything being distributed evenly.
Okay. So assets pass at death to heirs or beneficiaries. If father had a will, if dad had a will, the will's going to direct, and the will most likely needs to be probated, means entered into court in his local jurisdiction, so they would need an attorney to help with that. But assets can pass in another way as well. You know, there may be joint tenants. They may own things together jointly, right? So somebody may be on the bank account with him, somebody may be on the title to land with him. Assets pass by joint title. Assets could also pass by a beneficiary designation, like a contract on a life insurance policy, or an IRA might have a beneficiary designation. So assets can pass that way. It's not really just distributed by one sister or one brother. Now, if it's personal property and not monetary assets or real estate, that usually are what I was talking about. Personal assets then would be divided equitably, and sometimes that means by an auction, maybe just a family auction among the family members. Sometimes it may be literally, you know, an estimate of dollar amount monetary value, and it's divided up equally that way. Sometimes it could be a lottery, but there's fair ways of dividing assets. Sounds like they may need legal counsel.
Yes, so there's a minivan involved, and I don't know many wills where maybe they do say it, you know, so and so gets the minivan. How do you decide who gets something like that?
A minivan is personal property. It could be sold and assets divided. It's got a real value to it that can be determined by, you know, a car dealership or by going to Kelley Blue Book and decided, you know, if somebody really wants that minivan, then you look to say, what's that worth? And it's just a math problem.
Right.
Whatever it's worth divided by however many heirs there are.
And the caller was saying they don't trust the person who's, I guess, overseeing. Maybe it's the executor of the will. I don't know. If
it's an executor of a will and the will be admitted to probate, then it's court supervised. So that person then is responsible to the court.
They're not going to be able to run off with all the money.
They can require an accounting, and they don't get to run off with all the money.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you for your call, though. Let's go to Mary. Yeah. Hello, Mary. Mary, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good. Go right ahead.
I want to know if there are any elder care or elder law attorneys in Murfreesboro.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. There are. And most attorneys, well, we're all licensed in the entire state of Tennessee. So I have to say our office is in Hendersonville, and that is not that far from Murfreesboro. But if you're wondering how to find an elder law attorney, you can do so through the TBA can help.
What is TBA again?
Tennessee Bar Association. They can help. You could, and if you have internet access, you could actually go to a site called NALA. That's for the National Association of Elder Law Attorneys, and you can look to see who is an elder law attorney. You get into the area, there's a lot of practitioners now who claim that they do elder law work. And elder law, you asked me that when I first sat down, what is elder law?
Right,
you know,
right.
And elder law is an area of law that's really defined by the population they serve, elderly people. It's a little bit of estate planning. It's a little bit of government benefits planning. It's a little bit of health care planning. And because it covers a wide variety of topics, depending on the complexity of the situation, sometimes that certification really comes in handy, making sure that you've got a certified elder law attorney. But if neither of those ways work for you to find an elder law attorney in Murfreesboro or in any area of Tennessee that you're comfortable with, you know, we're happy to help somebody find and connect up with elder law attorneys.
And we'll put up your number here at the end, and
yeah,
you know, she can call and you can reference her, someone maybe more specific.
Yeah, even the guy that was in Louisville that felt like he might need an elder law attorney reference. We have colleagues in that area as well.
All right, Mary, thank you for that call. Thank you. Let's go to Stephen. Hello, Stephen.
Hello?
Hi, go right ahead.
Yes, I'm calling regarding the gentleman that called in earlier about his mother in Louisville.
Right.
I was listening here, and I couldn't believe it on the TV there. I've had a very, very similar situation. And my mother actually lived in my same neighborhood. She was taken advantage of right under my own nose.
Okay. How old was she?
79, but she had dementia.
Right.
See, I've already been down this road and back up to the same hill there.
How did you deal with it? What happened?
Well, I filed a lawsuit, if you know what I mean.
Okay. So he got very upset is what happened. All right, so what do you do? You see it happening right there in your neighborhood under your nose.
There are ways that when we're talking about a family member that we love and feel responsible for, and we're trying to protect them from being taken advantage of, there is a strong possibility that she did not have full capacity, maybe because of advanced age, maybe because of her diagnosis of dementia. There are ways to protect those people financially and physically, whether it's through legal planning, like a trust, becoming a rep payee for Social Security, to the very extreme of a conservatorship case, which is a court-supervised fiduciary role where someone's appointed, given the rights and responsibilities for caring for someone. So there's mechanisms to protect our elders once we're aware. Of course, we sort of feel a little guilty that it's gotten to that point. We like to think about protecting those that we love before it gets to that point. So again, it's honest conversations and prudent and proper planning.
All right, we're going to take a break. If you want to call, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this. Welcome back to Open Line. We were talking about elder law and elder care issues. Happy to have with us Barbara Boone McGinnis, elder law attorney. Plenty of calls. Let's just go right back to the phones. Let's go to Ross. Hello, Ross.
Hey.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I've got a case, not a case, but I live here in Nashville. My stepmom and dad live in Pennsylvania. Okay.
Okay.
They're supposed to be in like a old folks home, but it's an elderly care unit, and I'm finding out now that her daughter is actually taking everything and selling everything without anybody knowing nothing about. But being the elder law, doesn't that fall within the grandfather law that they have to let people know family-wise from my dad's side to what's going on?
All right. Now, do you understand that question?
Maybe. I'll take a stab at it.
Okay,
good. Sounds like a blended family. Often there's opportunities for conflict with a blended family. Conflict that's usually stems from that lack of communication. Sounds like both of the elders are in a facility of some sort, and he's concerned about some misappropriation of their assets. Okay. And does that person have an obligation to notify other family members of the selling of this property? Well, to sound completely lawyerly-like, it depends.
It depends.
It
right.
depends on what, under what circumstances. I mean, if he's truly worried that this person is stealing, that's a crime, right? But if the person is functioning under a power of attorney with authority for both of the elders to sell and convert perhaps personal property or real property into an asset that could be used for their care, well, then that's completely appropriate, right? And not necessarily anything that obligates her to notice other family members unless they want to buy some of this to help contribute to the care of mom and dad. I mean, there's always a lot more to that story.
Right.
And I try to think back about the general circumstances and how it could be applied in a larger picture for them.
Boy, we've gotten several calls along these lines, and it shows the importance of planning. It shows the importance of having a will or having some sort of clear thing, you know.
And a will directs assets at the time of death, and very often that's what the elder is worried about. But circumstances like this, planning ahead, making sure that you have legal agents to make decisions for you, including disposition of your assets while you're alive, really is very important.
Let's go to Bill. Hello, Bill.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I'm calling to ask a question about the. I'm moving from one location to another, selling my house here in Nashville, and moving off. And I was talking just with an attorney friend yesterday, and when I told him what I was doing, he said, well, make sure that when you have your deed made out at your new place, that you have it in your name as trustee. And I couldn't figure out why that would be important. I'm 76 years old, and he knows my circumstances.
Right.
Well, Bill, do you have a trust?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, a trustee is the person that manages assets assigned to a trust. So that's the circumstances under which that makes sense to me. I mean, if you have a trust, revocable or irrevocable type trust, your real estate could be titled to the trustee of that trust. So if you bought a new house, new state, new community, that new house would need to be likewise bought into the name of the trust. Because a lot of times people go through the trouble of creating a trust and establishing the purpose, thinking that they've made provisions to avoid probate, dispose of their assets at their death, use their assets appropriately until the time of death, but they miss that step of funding the trust properly by retitling assets into the name of the trust. And you do that by being sure that your house is titled to the trustee.
Mm-hmm.
So
I want to get into what is a trust, when should you use a trust, power of attorney, some of those things.
Okay.
I mean, those, and I guess this is a good opportunity at least to talk about trusts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why would you need one in your opinion? Who should start thinking about using those kinds of things?
Well, there's multiple reasons why you'd want to use a trust. A lot of times people come in and they're thinking about using, or they've heard of a living trust. Well, a living trust just means that the trust is created during your lifetime. But what they're really referring to is a revocable trust. A trust that, and the purposes of creating a revocable trust, primarily it avoids probate. People don't like the idea of making their family, their children, or their heirs go through the probate process, which can be expensive and lengthy. And even if it's not too terribly expensive and lengthy, it is a minor hassle factor, right?
Right.
So avoiding probate can be a good thing. The other thing that a trust can do for you as opposed to a will is that sometimes you can create conditions or circumstances that is much more difficult in a trust. I mean, much more difficult in a will than it would be in a trust. You can create sub-trusts for maybe special needs children or grandchildren or for particular purposes. It's also a way to manage assets in the event that you become incapacitated. It is one of the tools that we use to help protect people as they age or maybe have diminished capacity for medical reasons. So it's the trustee of the trust that is the manager of the assets that's titled to the trust. So then it makes it harder for the older person, incapacitated person, to be taken advantage of because they may have a beneficial ownership interest, but the trust has an equitable interest. or a legal interest in that asset. And it makes it harder for them to write checks for donations.
Right.
You know, I've seen that as well, where it's not really scams, but they're donating hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year to charities, or which is a good thing if you have it to give, but perhaps it's just an over donating event that causes people to be taken advantage
some of that from happening. And
yes,
say you have a younger child or a child with a disability,
right?
And they're going to inherit, you know, your house, your money.
Yes.
But they're not maybe able to take care of it for whatever reason, a disability, whatever. You could put it in a trust. You could have someone manage it and take care of that child.
That is a very good reason to have a trust, is if there is a child with special needs, or a sibling, or even a spouse with a special need from, you know, maybe a diagnosis that you're not even thinking about right now. A chronic illness like Parkinson's may render that spouse to have special needs along the way, and you could create a trust for their care and provision after your passing, so that they could be cared for using those assets, but they may not be the manager of those assets.
I don't know why. All right, so our last caller, Bill, was buying a house, and he's saying put on the deed the trustee, which is himself. Theoretically, he would be gone, so it makes no sense.
Sounds like Bill really needs to go back to his attorney friend to clarify that.
Because we don't understand that, Bill.
Yeah.
No, we don't understand that. All right, let's go to Bob. Hello, Bob.
Hello. Interesting program. I'm calling because I've been on disability, was got from the state, and my dad died in early 90s. He left me some stuff. It was sold, St. Thomas, different things, and the money was put in trust for me to get a certain amount a month so I could get by. But still, you know, even with trust, I'm still in poverty. And living in apartments and all that. But this is about the get reviewed by the state every year, and it's a book. You know, I may only have to fill out 5 or 6 pages, but getting all the facts and everything is quite a hassle. I've got till like the 3rd or something of April. And the other thing would be I've had chemo and radiation last year, July to now, and I'm paying on that, and the insurance was pretty good, but I've paid off one doctor. There's several more to go, but I've got some more treatments ahead, and the billing on that is just, I don't know, you know.
Are you asking if you can get it your trust? Can you get more money out of your trust? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm concerned about the state reaffirmed to get food stamps, stuff like that, in the insurance. It's a book, you know. I'm just concerned about how difficult it is. I've been on long enough they should know what I have and different things like that, and I shouldn't have to.
So is this a redetermination for
the insurance and the billing from the doctors? That's just that's a lot of paperwork. I got 2 folders full.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Some of that, anyway.
So it sounds like Bob's having a hard time.
Yeah, definitely.
Certain government programs do have annual redeterminations. Social Security or SSI might have a redetermination. Certainly TennCare has redeterminations. And the packets that our clients are seeing that we assist with, they are quite intimidating. They can be in excess of 100 pages, so I can see where he would be intimidated by that. He's already read through it, it sounds like. He can boil it down to a few pages that he needs to complete, and maybe just frustrated about the whole why.
Right.
You know, I mean, they have to justify why people are on their books or receiving benefits, and so there is a mechanism for, and it should be somewhere in that packet, pretty readily seeable in the packet, a number that you can call for assistance if you need help. I was talking with a TennCare attorney today, as a matter of fact, and She said people that are doing these redeterminations, if they're in a facility, then the facility staff, the office managers at the facilities would help with those redetermination packets. Obviously, there's a few people that have legal representation like us that would get help. But if they're living in the community and they're dealing with these redetermination packets, there either is a caseworker through their managed care organization that could help them, because the managed care organization has a bona fide interest in these people retaining their benefits. I mean, he deserves his benefits to stay on the benefits. And then not a last resort, but certainly a safety net would be the TennCare TNHC number to call for help.
He didn't ask, but I'm asking. I mean, could he's encountered some medical issues. Could he get extra money out of his trust? Or is it written?
It's possible. Again, it depends on how the terms of the trust are written, but a lot of times that's exactly what those trusts exist for.
Yeah. Hopefully there's something in there, and he should look into that. All right, so we have to take a break. There's the number if you want to call. If you're on the line, hold on. We'll get to your call. There's the number, 615-737-PLUS. 615-737-7587. We'll take a break. Be back right after this. Glad you were back on Open Line. We are talking about elder law and elder care issues. Happy to have with us elder law attorney Barbara Boone McGinnis. And lots of questions about caring for a loved one as they get older, about wills, all kinds of planning that goes along with these issues. Let's go to Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello.
Hi, go right ahead.
Yes, if you have a trust, and whatever you have in this trust, if say 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road, you have to go in the nursing home, and you run out of funds to pay the nursing home, can they recoup, or can they go back on the trust that you have and get anything out of that?
Oh, you know what? That is a fabulous question, Rebecca. That is what we spend a lot of time every day with. And the answer is, as you might guess, it depends. It depends on what type of trust you have. There is a 5-year look back from TennCare for Medicaid in terms of what's happened with your assets. What have you done with your assets in the last 5 years? They're looking to make sure you haven't given assets away. Well, some trust, funding that trust would be considered a gift. So we have to wait till we get on the other side of that 5-year clock, month 61 or greater, before the assets in the trust are not touchable. But then again, it depends on the type of trust that you're talking about. A minute ago I was talking about the revocable trust. And some of the virtues of a revocable trust, the flexibility, the grantor retains control. They can revise, amend, revoke, add assets, take assets out. They stay in control. But one of the disadvantages of a revocable trust is that there is no creditor protection whatsoever, including for that of TennCare. So to get asset protection, it would totally be a very unique trust drafted for that purpose, and it would be something that you have to wait that 5-year look back.
So it sounds like in most cases they would be able to go into there.
Absolutely.
So it would have to be a unique trust.
Yes.
And even with that, it's still 5 years?
5 years.
So you would have to, that's going to answer your question. You would have to look at your trust and see if that's the situation. But it sounds like a pretty unique situation.
And you'd have to know, like what was the purpose that you created the trust for, and perhaps you just go back to the attorney that helped you create that trust to find out, is this trust really going to help me if I need to go into a nursing home? Is it going to help me protect assets?
Very interesting. Rebecca, thank you for that. Let's go to Lewis. Hello, Lewis.
Hello, how are you doing there? My question's a little bit lengthy, and I apologize for that. I'm dealing with a will here, and I'm not really understanding as far as if I can alter the names that are given on the will at all. I mean, I understand I'm not supposed to do that by law. I'd like to explain to you my situation as to what I'm dealing with. If you don't mind.
You can do it really quickly, but yeah, go up, give it a shot.
Okay, my father's real sick, and what the deal is he's left furniture and stuff inside the house to great nephews and great grandsons and stuff, but he's not in his right state of mind. I don't know if that's when the will was written or not, but he's leaving stuff to people that I don't think it should be leaving to. You know, I've had conversations with him where he tells me.
Well, okay. So, concern again about an elderly loved one and concern about the passing of assets. You know, are they in their right mind? And so, I don't know.
All right.
What do you do?
Testamentary capacity. The capacity, the mental capacity to create a will and for the disposition of assets at death. So he has to know what he owns, what's the nature of his assets, who his natural heirs would be, the effect of his writing, and if he were to choose to leave it to someone else, right? So it sounds like
if somebody says, I don't think it should be left to a great nephew. I mean, who's
to say, right?
That?
So if Dad was in his right mind, had testamentary capacity when he wrote his will, and really it's the attorney that's assisting in that drafting of the will that's going to make that determination, then it's really okay if family members disagree with that. You know, because everybody's entitled to their opinion, but it doesn't mean that they have the right to change. In fact, it would have no legal validity for him to attempt to change someone else's will. It's an issue that comes up a lot in our practice, and to the extent that Tim has this little diagram that he draws, and it's called we call it the conflict box. And as the elder person starts losing capacity, the person that is their legal agent has to start assuming greater responsibility. Well, the conflict comes as those two lines cross or dissect each other. You know, does the person that is assuming responsibility, are they aware? Can they make that, you know, are they ready to step up? Do they recognize the incapacity? And knowing that certainly there's some decisions you're going to have to make for your elderly loved one, changing their will is not one of them.
Can't do that. All right, we have a few minutes left in this segment. You wanted to talk about, and several of our questions have dealt with this, dementia and a situation coming up here. What is it you wanted to mention?
We're really excited about this at our office, that we are going to be the host for the kickoff of the virtual dementia tour that's co-sponsored with Senior Helpers and Second Wind Dreams. It will be March 30th from 10 to 1, and it will be at our office in Hendersonville. There's a place that you can actually register, so you don't have to wait in line. You can register. They'll take 2 people at a time through this tour bus, and it takes about 10 minutes. We'll try to have that link on our website if it's not there already, so that you can go to Senior Helpers and register. But they will take, you know, just walk-ons, people that just walk up and say they want to do that. There'll be provisions for that. So we're excited about that.
We'll put up your information here at the end of this next segment. And then for this upcoming year, what are some big changes? Are there any big changes in the law that people need to be aware of, or what do you think we need to be thinking about here?
You know, we've had a lot of calls about wills, about transfer of assets at death. You know, people do still wonder about estate taxes. Well, estate taxes rarely a problem for the people that we see. Tennessee did away with their inheritance tax in January of 2016 and abolished the gift tax for Tennessee back in 2012. But the federal gift tax limit, you can still give $14,000 a year per person. Tennessee had a very complicated class system of A and B, but that's gone away as well. It's just a flat gift tax of $14,000 per person, with a lifetime limit right now at $5.49 million. So it doesn't affect a lot of people to think that they're going to have a taxable estate. You know, so taxable estates and gift tax is rarely an issue. Now, remember, these are IRS rules. They have nothing to do with what you can give and still be eligible for TennCare. So those rules do not, there's no correlation there.
Wait a minute. What you could
you can give
you could give $5-point-something million and still be eligible for TennCare?
No. That's what I'm saying is that these are IRS rules. They don't have any bearing on TennCare rules. TennCare still says you can't give anything away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we take a break? We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this to wrap everything up. So a lot of interesting calls tonight. If people have more questions, what should they do? What number do they call?
They call 615-824-2571. And there'll be someone to take your intake and your questions. And if we're not the right fit, then I know that they'll help find someone that can help you.
Yeah, we had someone call in say, okay, well, suppose they want to find an elder law attorney in another area. You can help with that even.
Right.
You can help refer people. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Very much. Some interesting calls, and thanks to those who called in. Stay tuned now. Sportsline is coming up next. Have a great night, everybody.